David here. We'll come back to Tim.
It sounds like you and Aeneas kind of go way back. What is that relationship like? And to get him in the fold and pitch him to come to Virginia Tech, walk us through what these last couple of weeks have been like in that relationship.
Well, it's a unique situation because naturally I was coaching at Duke University when we signed Aeneas, but it's probably just a testament to the power of social media. Naturally, I left Duke University in 2019 to go to Texas Tech, but his mother and his father, who we got to be good friends with, are on my Facebook page. So it allows you to stay connected with each other throughout the pandemic when people didn't have anything else to do but communicate like that. Aeneas' mother, Gia, actually did my wife Nikita's hair for about 5 years when we lived there. So we were really tightly intertwined and knew each other well, and the dad was communicating with me recently about the younger son. This is before Aeneas even got into the portal, but it's just a natural, genuine relationship. So when he went into the portal, knowing who he was as a person, what we needed in the locker room as a player, it was just a natural fit. Now, it wasn't easy because he had a lot of suitors, but we had the natural end because of the relationship that we had. And then, to be honest with you, all things aligned. The proximity to Blacksburg, as opposed to some of the other schools that were major players, I think overrode everything else, including NIL for him. He's got a younger brother who's going to be playing football on Friday nights. The family's very supportive. They're going to go watch his son. And you have to look at where is it easier to get to see your other son play on a week-in, week-out basis. And then I think the fact that the kid has played in the ACC, the parents have traveled to a lot of these places that we're going to go to. He's familiar with the talent he's going to be going against. It was just a natural fit.
You mentioned that you've recruited the Charlotte area for a long time, and Quentin Reddish is one of the better prospects you've seen. What makes him so special? What stands out to you about him?
You know, we thought Quentin was a hidden gem from day one. When you look at his measurables, when you look at his raw ability, they did a lot of different things with him, playing him at corner, playing him at safety, but just watching him in the middle of the field, just be a natural playmaker. And then the thing you always want to do as a coach is you always want to ask people that you have relationships with, that you trust about prospects. And because I've recruited the Charlotte area for so long, I know so many people there. Everywhere you go, people talked about Quentin Reddish. People talked about Quentin Reddish. And he was just a guy that we felt like fit us. And then, you know, once we got in and developed the relationship with the family, he started to play really well this year. And, you know, teams came from all over the place, but we were way down the road with not only him but his parents, so we were able to hold on to him.
Tim, next, please.
Derek, what made Sam Brumfield the right guy for you guys in terms of filling that linebacker need in the portal?
Well, the thing we were looking for at the linebacker position, we needed a playmaker. We needed a leader. We needed a guy that could mimic, you know, Coach Marv's energy. We needed a guy that could mimic Coach Marv's mindset and that could relate with him as the linebacker coach and the coordinator to be able to get the things done that we need to get done there. He's a natural linebacker. You know, he's not a guy that you've converted positions for. He's been doing this for a long time. But, you know, Middle Tennessee State is a program that we visited with in the offseason because they had a very high number of turnovers the previous season. So we looked around wanting to talk to a lot of different institutions about, you know, what they were doing. So we were able to watch a lot of film on Brumfield before he was even in the portal, and we were impressed just by watching them on defense, trying to see how they got turnovers, just watching this guy. You know, he's very twitchy, very explosive. He's an extremely smart guy, very instinctive, and he just makes plays. And he made plays against superior competition, and that's the thing you want to look for in the portal when you're taking a guy. You don't want to just look at the numbers. You want to look at who he's doing this against. And I think what the portal allows you to do now is college teams are becoming more like NFL teams in the sense of NFL teams get their players from all over the place. When you go look at an NFL roster, everybody's not from Power 5. They're just good football players. And he's just one of the better football players that we recognize. Luckily for us, he was at the very top of our list. We passed on some other guys, hoping that we got him, and it worked out for us.
And then I know you recruit some in the 757 as well. Tech signs the top two kids, according to the composite, from that region for the first time since 2005. What's caused kind of you guys to be able to get some more traction recruiting the 757?
It's my first day on the job, we went to the 757, you know, and we've been there countless times since then. But what you're seeing is just the fruits of our labor as far as relationships are concerned. We do a very thorough job of not only sending the recruiting area coach in, but multiple coaches in so that people can develop relationships. Coach Pry's whole footprint recruiting philosophy is a little bit bigger than just recruiting close. What the footprint philosophy of recruiting does for us is it basically limits us the amount of places that we're going. So we get a chance to go to the places we go frequently, even more frequently. So we're doing what's called blitzes in the next couple of weeks, where we'll go and we'll take all 10 coaches to the 757, to Richmond, to Charlotte, to areas like that, and we'll just branch out and spread out and get into schools, and you're developing those relationships. And when coaches constantly see you come through, when you get to know them personally, when you're not in a hurry in recruiting, it allows you to be a little bit different than your competition. And because this is the state of Virginia, this is our home state, we're just able to spend a little more time in these schools than some of these other schools that don't come here that much. So even though the logo that we're competing against may seem impressive, they don't have the relationships that we do.
Gabe Williams seems to be a pretty outgoing guy. What's his personality like to be around, and how do you see him fitting into this linebacking group position-wise?
Very fun-loving guy. I think Gabe gets it. Gabe understands that personality recruits, personality helps. And to be honest with you, nowadays in the NIL world, personality sells. So all of these kids are doing what they need to do as far as using their social media outlets to market themselves, whether it be to different companies, whether it be to people in their hometown. All of this stuff matters. But make no mistake, Gabe's a really good football player. He was one of the top players in the DMV area, one of the guys that we targeted, that we felt like if we could get guys like this, it would get us over the hump, because the presence of good players recruits other good players. And when we got Gabe in the boat, he went on social media, and he was on there every single day. And he was on there last night, you know, even so. And Gabe was a big part of the reason that we were able to get some of these other kids, because good players want to go play with good players. And they look at Gabe, they look at his highlight film, they see the offers that he has, and it shows that, you know, Virginia Tech is trending back in the right direction. And he was a guy that was very vocal. He was a guy that was very public about the other offers that he had, but he stood firm with Virginia Tech the entire time.
Is there a position specifically you guys have in mind for him? Does he have some versatility?
Yeah, you know, when you look at the linebacker position and you look at a guy like Gabe in particular, you know, he's tall right now, but he doesn't weigh a whole lot right now. So what you want to do is you probably want to look at the progression of him. A guy with his stature, you don't really know how big he's going to get. You know he's going to get bigger, but it won't be next year. So he may be a guy that starts at one of the outside linebacker positions and moves in depending upon how big he gets, and we won't know that until time tells us.
Go Damian, then a Zoom.
Derek, you had one guy in the cornerback room, Joshua Clark, a guy who at Flint Hill, very versatile in what he could, where he could play both offense and defense. What fit for him that you could see him projecting at cornerback?
Well, you know, I liked Josh's film when I saw it a couple of years ago. But the thing that sold me on Josh was we had him in a 7-on-7 camp here 2 years ago. And he was going against Highland Springs, and he was going against some of the more high-powered public schools or whatever. And he was the guy that just kept showing up. And what you look for in a cornerback, you want to look for mentality. You want to look for competitive nature. You want to look for ball skills. And the thing that attracted me to Josh was, you know, he was playing receiver, and he's going against Braylon Johnson and Takai Heath, and he's catching balls on them. He's going up over them, you know, and he's a year younger than them at the time. So I just kind of followed him around that day and watched him, and then he flips over to the defensive backside of the ball, and he's playing safety because he's their better player, and then all of a sudden he's playing corners. So you saw that versatility, but I think just the competitive nature, the ball skills, the length that he has is something that you want to look for the style of defensive back play that we play. But he just fit everything, and he was a little bit different than a guy that I can just watch film on, even just have in camp, because I got to see him compete in about 6 or 7 different 7-on-7s that day. So there was no doubt in my mind that he was a guy that could play corner for us.
Go to zone, please.
Couple on Zoom here, starting with Colby.
Coach, speak to what Kamari fills not only on the interior of the defensive line, but also what he brings on the field, but also in the locker room as well.
Well, you know, he's a guy that's from the area. He knows some of these guys. And, you know, your defensive line present, especially those inside guys, they've got to be kind of alpha dogs. They've got to be leaders. They've got to be captains because everybody follows those guys. And he just brought a mindset. He just brought a confidence. His story, everything about him is just something we thought would resonate with the other players that we have on our football team. And getting a player with his production was something that we needed. Naturally, we lost three key elements from the defensive tackle position, and we needed to fill those positions with players that were just as good or what we thought were better, and we felt like we got that with him.
Wrap up here with David.
Eric, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to see how some of these transfer candidates performed against top flight competition. Did it help to see Aeneas play against Virginia Tech last season and how well he did?
Yeah, well, there was never a doubt about Aeneas because I knew him personally, and Aeneas has been pretty dominant since he's been playing for Duke University. But yeah, without a doubt, he was a thorn in our side in that game last year. He allowed us to understand the level that we needed to recruit to in order to compete in the league because it was our first year in the league as a staff, and you got to kind of go as a measuring stick for what you're looking for. Naturally, we didn't know we would get him, but we were looking for guys like him.
Coach, thank you so much.
All right, thank y'all.